What's up everyone? Happy Monday. I really haven't been posting that many videos the last few months, and the handful I have been personal best or PB attempts, so certainly not representative of what a typical training day or training session is like. So thought I would just take you all through what maybe a more typical or standard training session is and how I approach it. Since getting back on the rower in November-ish 2023, I had been loosely following the PEAT plan, which many of you in the indoor rowing community especially will know, and had been using that as the foundation for my training. But generally from one week to the next, or from one day to the next even, I was coming up with my own training plan, deciding the workouts, sometimes the day of, or even right before getting on the erg. And that seemed to work pretty well. I got to a point a couple months ago where training was just becoming a bit stale, and I just needed a change and needed something different. So right around the time I decided to refocus on the 2K distance in particular, I thought I would try something I haven't done before: hire a coach to help build my program. And so for the last few weeks, those of you who follow me on Instagram will have seen I've been posting my daily training updates as I've embarked on this plan. And I'll just touch on the major differences in the plan, or between this plan that I'm on and the training I was doing on my own. I had been biasing my training towards what I was already good at, which tends to be longer, more endurance-based distances. And so I'd really neglected speed work. The first couple weeks of this current training plan were a real swift kick in the ass, because there is a lot more speed work, sprint focused training than I've ever done before. And there may be some weeks multiple sprint focused sessions in the same week. So the overall intensity, I would say, of this current program is much higher than what I was doing before, while the overall volume is less. The really nice thing about working with a coach, and this coach in particular, is that he prescribes not just the workout, what the workout will be, but the specific target splits that I should be hitting based on, one, what my personal bests are or have been this year across a variety of distances, and two, how the prior week's training has gone. The way it's worked so far is that coach has prescribed 1 week of training at a time. I'll report back at the end of each week with the results of that week's training, some commentary as well, and then based on how that week's training has gone, coach will then prescribe the following week's sessions as well. And of course, the target splits, the target paces that he's recommending each week incorporate feedback and results from the prior weeks. So each week builds upon the previous weeks. One of the things I've enjoyed the most is that I don't have to really think much about what the workout is going to be, right? Coach is prescribing me the workout, the targets I need to hit, and it's up to me to execute the training. Now, one thing I've gotten, I think, much better at and more intentional about these last few weeks has been my warm-up routine before these harder sessions. I think many of us, and I would have put myself in this camp before starting this plan, I think many of us do not warm up enough before max effort sessions on the erg. And I get it, right? Warming up takes time, and not all of us have extra time to warm up. Oftentimes we're squeezing in a workout in between work, or picking up our kids, or other commitments, and sometimes it's just tough. But for those of us that do have that little bit of extra time, a proper warm-up can make all the difference between a session where you feel like absolute crap or a session where you feel pretty good. And so I'll take you through what might be more of a typical warm-up routine for me these days before I do any kind of sprint intervals, and then we'll jump into the workout. First thing I do though is, especially because it's pretty cold in my garage, before I even jump on the rower, I will hop on the BikeErg and just spin the legs out for about 10 minutes. So, gonna hop on the bike first, get nice and loosened up, and then talk to you guys then. The goal with that 10 minutes on the BikeErg is just to get a light sweat going, just because it is cold in the garage. One thing I didn't mention earlier, so this plan, the training plan that I'm currently on, does not have what some would call steady state, or others would call zone 2, UT2, etc. My plan does not have any of that built in, and so I've actually been using the BikeErg to get 1 to 2 extra zone 2 type sessions in each week to supplement the higher intensity work that the plan has. So that'll be, a couple mornings a week I'll jump on for anywhere from, let's say, 40 minutes to an hour 20, making sure to feel like the RPE, or the rate of perceived exertion, doesn't really go above a 5 or a 6. There's a fine balance between doing enough UT2 that I'm continuing to build my aerobic base while also not doing so much, or not upping the intensity so much that I am compromising the harder workouts. We do also have a Peloton, which I haven't used much over the last few years. My wife does, but I just really wanted to, and as someone who is pretty diligent about tracking my progress, and am pretty metrics driven, I just really wanted to have all of my training data in the same ecosystem. So Concept 2 for the win there. Obviously they make it really easy to do that through the logbook, but I also just really enjoy the feel of the BikeErg as well. So I've done about 10 sessions on it so far, been really happy. It'll become a staple of my workout routine long term. So it's a good purchase. Anyhow, now I'm gonna jump on the rower and do, now usually what I'll do at this point is anywhere from 4 to 5K on the rower. As I've mentioned in the past, I have really tight hips, and I have an actual hip impingement as well that limits my hip mobility. So for me, I really have to spend extra time warming up to make sure my hip feels good, it's as loose as it can be, and that I'm not working against it at the beginning of the workout. So I'll do 1,500 meters, just a low intensity pace. I take a little breather, and then I'll do 2,500 meters, where every 500 meters I do a hard 12 to 15 strokes at gradually building intensities as we go. My first one might be 12 to 15 strokes at a 148 pace at 24 strokes per minute. The next one might be 12 to 15 strokes at 142 pace at stroke rate 28, right? And so on until the fifth one, my fifth 12 to 15 stroke burst. For a workout like this, I'll usually actually try to have it be slightly faster than my target pace. So in this case, I'll probably do the last one about 130 pace, and paddle it out for the last 500 meters, and that'll be the warm up. I'll check in again when that's done. All right, so take a 90-second break. That was 1,500 meters done. Just a hair below 2-minute split. So, you know, low to moderate speed. Just again, trying to get that sweat going, which for me, it's not hard to do. Just get a sip of water and we'll jump into 2,500 meters. Every 500 meters, I will take a firm 12 to 15. We'll gradually build the speed and pace, and we'll finish our last one right around, or just even, maybe even a bit faster than target pace for the workout. So warm-up is complete. Now, as I was saying before, the warm-up, most of us, and again, I was guilty of this as well, typically do not warm up enough before hard workouts. And I think a lot of that is because of a fear or concern that you'll use too much energy, right? You use so much energy during the warm-up that it's going to negatively affect how you actually then do your piece or your interval session, whatever the workout is. And I have found that, again, more often than not, that's not going to be the case. And if any of you have ever done, let's say 8 by 500 meters or 10 by 500 meters, right? Pretty common interval sessions. You've probably noticed that oftentimes the first interval will feel terrible, but the second and third will feel better. And that's because, and far be it from me to explain the physiology behind it, but it can just take your body that long to warm up and get comfortable and acclimated to this faster pace. So in my warm-ups, I want to make sure I get anywhere from, let's say, 75 to 100 firm strokes in over the course of the warm-up. You know, of course, I'm breaking them into 15 or so stroke chunks with plenty of time to paddle in between. So I'm not taxing myself, right? I'm not depleting my reserves that I need for the main session, but it's enough firm strokes that my body has a sense for what it's going to need to do to sustain a particular pace. So with the warm-up done, I'll usually take anywhere from 6 to 10 minutes before I start the workout itself. I'll use this as an opportunity to, first and foremost, check the drag factor. I don't usually check before the warm-up. I just will typically put it roughly where I think it needs to be, but I'll always check it on the Erg Data app before I start the main workout. And I like it to be right around 130, drag factor of 130. That's what I train at pretty much for any distance. I don't really change the drag factor much at all. Okay, so the workout today is, my target pace is my target 2K pace or better. So for me, with a 2K target of 609.9, my target pace, at least for the first interval, will be 132.4. But the structure is 1,000 meter interval, 4 minutes rest, 750 meter interval, 3 minutes rest, a 500 meter interval, 2 minutes rest, finish with a 250 meter interval. My goal is to negative split each of the subsequent intervals. Negative split meaning my average pace should be faster each interval than the ones previous. For me, spending more time at or below my target 2K pace is a must. Not just for me, but really for everyone. There's something to be said for getting more comfortable, being really uncomfortable at those paces. And the only way to do that is to just spend time at those paces, and breaking a workout up into intervals like this allows you to get more total time in at a target pace like that, while giving you still enough time to recover in between intervals. So a mental tip before workouts like these, which can look daunting at first, is to try and identify what you think the crux of the workout is going to be. So I compare it to, if any of you have ever been rock climbing or have been bouldering, rock climbers will describe the crux of their climb as like the single hardest point in the climb. So in other words, if they can get past the crux and figure out a way through it, then they feel very confident in their ability to complete the climb. So the crux is really, again, that toughest part of the workout that you need to figure out a way to make it through. But once you make it through that, mentally the rest of the workout should be quite a bit easier. And so for this workout, it might seem fairly obvious, but in my opinion, the 750 meter interval is the crux, because you can do anything for 500 meters, for 250 meters, but that 750 meter piece, after having done the 1,000, I think will be the toughest part. With that being said, let's jump into it, and I'll try to talk to you guys along the way. Was about as expected. Hard, but in control, I guess I'd say. And really with these rest breaks, I hate sitting still. I feel like if I stop moving for too long, I'll get really stiff, and I don't want that to happen. So generally speaking, I'll just keep moving up and down the slide. No pressure really, just literally kind of gliding back and forth. I'm gonna stop for a water break, but otherwise, I'll keep moving. Like I said, crux of this workout is the 750, in my view, not the 1K, but it is a bit of a mental load off to have done the 1K. So the 1K was a 1:31.7, which I guess means I gotta beat that now for the 750. So yeah, my strategy for this 750 is settle in the first 250 and then treat the last 500 like the last 500 of a 2K. Right, if I have to sprint a little bit, that's what I'm gonna do, because I think I'll be able to recover with the 3 minutes afterwards in time for the 500 meter interval. So if I have to kick a little bit at the end of the 750, that's what I'll do. So another minute of recovery, and we'll get into it. expected. Did have to pick up the intensity a little bit towards the end there, but that was what I said I would do. So that was, in my estimation, hardest part of the session done. Now, doesn't mean the 500 is going to be easy, but I'm fairly confident I can beat my split. So the 750, that was a 130.9. So we'll need to better that for 500, which, fingers crossed, I think I can do. But only one way to find out. Nothing to it but to do it, as the great Ronnie Coleman once said. All right, let's go. All right, so 500 at 129.3, that's good. So 250 is just as low as I can go. It's only 250 meters, about 45 seconds. You can do anything for 45 seconds. Final 250, 126.4. Legs are, really didn't have much left last 5 or 10 strokes, but that's kind of the point, right? These types of sessions is to just get reps in, pushing yourself right up to that red line. And just getting used to that. You know, theoretically, each time you do a session like this, you're willing to push just that fraction more. These are great sessions, not just this session exactly, but interval workouts, which I admittedly used to hate, really help build that mental resilience that we all need for tests like the 1K, the 2K. Don't shy away from them. And I think too, we're also afraid of failure, right? In the back of our minds, still in the back of my mind for these types of workouts is the thought of, well shoot, what if I just don't have it today? What if I blow up halfway through? But I'm truly trying to embrace and internalize my own advice, which is to not view any workout as a failure. Even if you don't hit your numbers, there's always something to be learned that can help you improve for the future, and you're still getting time in on the machine. So it's never a waste. Some days are just going to be better than others. Hopefully if you stick with a plan and stay consistent, you'll have more good days than not. So I'm going to jump into a cool down, which again, I recognize a bit of a luxury for me to have as much time as I do sometimes to train, but after a session like this, you know, I'll sit for a few minutes, not too long, but a few minutes, just catch my breath, let my heart rate come down a bit, and then I will almost always drop the fan all the way down, as little resistance as possible, and then I'll do 1 to 2K of just feet out paddling. So I'm keeping my feet out with a real focus on technique, which of course is hardest when you're tired. Just technique, stretching out, and that'll be how I end the day. Before I do that, let's take a peek at the results for today. So, let's take a look here. And date. All right, so yeah, 31.7, 30.9, 29.3, 26.4. So successfully negative split the workout, overall average of 30.5. Now, I don't have a good sense of whether that's good or not relative to my target 2K, but that's for coach to figure out, not me. So again, one thing I really like about this plan is see the plan, do the plan, right? Don't need to overthink it too much. But anyhow, again, just thought I would show you guys kind of what a more representative day of training is like. It's not always personal bests and crazy splits. There's a lot of hard work that goes into it behind the scenes. And I know a lot of you out there are putting in that hard work as you gear up for competitions or whatever else your goals may be. So keep at it. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Keep chasing. Peace.